Welcome to the first session of the Defining Wellness Confab. I'm Denise O'Malley, the founder of Define Wellness, and your host for this and all the other 49 events coming up. I would like to go over, first introduce you to my company, as these programs are brought to you by Define Wellness. Little disclaimer here, those who are Define Wellness Network providers are and will be our speakers for the remaining 48 segments of the Defining Wellness Confab, have gone through a background check with us. But even though they have gone through a background check, we just want to let you know that we can't endorse what it is that they do. And if you'd like to read more about this disclaimer, just take a screenshot of it or freeze your computer and feel free to read it. Now, Define Wellness, and we are having mouse issues today, so I apologize. Define Wellness is a new concept. Using a network of health and wellness professionals, we have put together some products to help consumers in the marketplace. The first is an employee benefit program giving employees access to the health and wellness services of their choice, choosing from over 130 different modalities that we have. We also utilize our providers for an education catalog, and this is available to any size group that is interested in bringing in a qualified health and wellness expert into either the workplace or perhaps a community group or even the schools. And then we also do have a product for individuals that we have recently come out with. There we go. And that is the Healthy Living Savings Card. It actually debuts today, July 17th. And for a limited time until August 1st, you can actually purchase a Healthy Living Savings Card for half price. It is a one-time fee. It's not an annual fee. And we encourage you to take a look at our website at udefinewellness.com and find out more about it. The other thing that we are doing, and this is what we're using the confab for, is to bring awareness to a group that we are putting together called the Holistic Healing Workplace Crisis Support Team. Because when a crisis hits the workplace, the experts say to bring in the counselors, and that's a great thing to do. Absolutely, we don't discount it. But we know it's not enough, because emotional and physical trauma tends to reside in the body, and it can show up in many ways in days, weeks, months, and even years later. So we can and we have brought in healers to help in the past, and that includes the counselors and bringing in people who are psychotherapists and biofeedback and massage therapy and acupuncturists and Reiki and more. And we are forming a nonprofit organization. We're using the Defining Wellness Confab to bring awareness to what it is that we are building, and to also let you know that this is something, if you wish to donate to it, we have a PayPal link, and it's right there, and you can participate on that. And we have a conversation going on July 24th to learn more about the Holistic Healing Crisis Support Team. So, as I mentioned, over the next 11 days, we will have 53 health and wellness experts sharing their passions in 49 sessions. We do not expect you to participate in every one of those sessions, because we know that, hey, who has the time to spend dedicating 49 hours over the next 2 weeks besides me? But we decided to, sorry, my computer is going crazy here. We will be recording all of these for YouTube, and you can find them on our YouTube channel starting in August, maybe earlier. And you can find our YouTube channel by just going over to youtube.com and inserting U, as in Y-O-U, Define Wellness in the search bar. And make sure you follow us to stay informed of new recordings. So why a confab? It's kind of a weird word, isn't it? You could call us a summit, you can call us a forum, but we like the definition of confab. And a confab is an informal, private discussion. And that's what we're doing here. It's just us talking with you about the things that you care about. Most of the talks in the confab will be about 20 minutes long, plus time for questions and answers. And there will be a few panel and open discussions like this one, where we've allotted an hour for the conversation. So this session came about in putting together the confab. And the reason why I did it was simple. It was confusion. People not knowing where to start when they decide to step away from the medical insurance world. You know, medical insurance has taught us for several generations that when you need health care, you start with a primary care physician, right? Your primary care physician will listen to your complaints, possibly order tests, refer you to other specialists if needed. They are essentially your director of your healthcare. But when you just start to step outside of that world, who do you turn to? And I've spoken with many healthcare professionals of various modalities about this over the past few weeks, and they've all said, oh, I can help with that, meaning that they could help people find their path or get them going. And these were people of many modalities: chiropractors, acupuncturists, naturopathic practitioners, nutrition coaches. The list is very long. And they all said the same thing, that, yeah, they could help someone figure out who they need to go see. But then I asked them the bigger question: how do people know to call you if you can help? And that question was met with dead silence. So that's why we're doing this confab. We want to provide education about other modalities. We want to increase awareness of options and healthy living paths. And I want to introduce you to some of the experts that I know. And the ultimate goal will be to establish a video resource library on YouTube. And you know what, it's just more fun to do videos when you have a live audience. And so we decided to open it up to the public to join us for free. So this session is how to become the director of your own health and navigating wellness without a primary care provider. Let me be clear, I am not anti-Western medicine. I believe that there is room for all types of healers in the world. I also believe that Western medicine doesn't have all the answers, and that's from my own personal experience. This will be, I hope, an open discussion to share your thoughts, concerns, ideas, suggestions, and a wish list. So one word of caution, we all have a story about our experiences in the Western medical world, right? Not everything needs to be shared with strangers. So remember that this is being recorded, and please be aware of what it is that you say on this public platform. So let's kick it off. Let's talk about, think about the first time you decided to step outside of the traditional Western medicine world. I'm curious, how and why did you make that decision? Who wants to speak up first? Oops, hold on. Okay. Sorry. Operator error. Yes.
So personally, the first time I decided to step out of that world was not really, I didn't feel like I had a choice anymore. It was in a space where I felt like I had gone to all kinds of different doctors and specialists, and no one could tell me. I had, hundreds of tests done, and no one could tell me what was going on. And it got to the point, I'll tell you the story, it got to the point where I looked at myself in the mirror and I didn't even really recognize who I was anymore. Wow. And I thought, if this is my future, if this is the way my life is going to be, I don't want it anymore. And so it came to this point of, I have no idea how I'm going to move forward, but I know something has to change because I'm in pain. I was using marijuana just to cope, but it became a crutch for me. It became an addiction for me. It was happening all the time because I didn't have any other resources. And so I came to a point that I think a lot of us do, of desperation, of I don't know where to start, but I know that something has to change or I'm not going to be happy.
So where did you know where to go? What did you do?
Yeah, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do, which is why we're here, why we're talking about this, right? And so I think it's really important. What I did was I found someone who had clients who had the results that I wanted. So when you are looking for someone who can help you and where to go, these are the questions that I think are really important to start to ask yourself. If you can imagine your life or your health, whatever it is for you, the way that you want it to be. So for me, it was like living pain-free. It was like feeling a purpose, feeling happy and joyous. It doesn't have to be specific, but even those two things, like living pain-free and feeling happy at least some of the time. And then start to explore people. You can go to our network and
Good plug. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. Go to the network and talk to people. Like, find something that you think just sounds interesting. It doesn't even have to make sense. You can just be like, okay, for some reason, maybe I want to talk to this person. And I think most people will talk to you for free. They'll offer you a free consultation, and ask them for case studies. Say, what are the results that your clients are getting? And if those results match the results of living pain-free and feeling happy, or whatever other results that you want, then that might be a person that you want to invest in, because the clients that they have are getting the same results that you are wanting to get. And that shifts the focus from the how, the modality, because the modality is not your job. As a client, as a patient, that's our job as practitioners, to serve you to the results and sharing what it is that you want to get to. That's your job. And the how is for us to help you achieve that, if that makes sense.
Well, that makes perfect sense. And in my experience, most practitioners, and I want to insert the word reputable in there, and I hesitate to do that, but I obviously just did it, right? Most reputable practitioners want to be working with the people that they can help, and not just take their money and lead them down this false path, and want to take that time in that initial consultation to say, am I a fit for you? And if not a fit, then be able to refer them to the person who is a fit, or say, I think you might want to introduce this type of treatment, or you might want to go talk to someone else. Yeah, rarely is the answer on a billboard somewhere. I can tell you mine was on a billboard. And I'm going to tell my story real quick before we go into someone else's. In the late 1980s, I was in a high stress job. I was feeling sick and tired all the time. And as I was driving down the road, I saw this big billboard in front of an office that said, are you tired of feeling sick and tired? Call us. Yeah, I didn't need it as a neon sign. I guess I just needed it as a billboard. And that was a chiropractor. And I went to the chiropractor. But at that time, I just thought it was, they fixed me and I was feeling better. They fixed the issue and I was feeling better. But they didn't dive into the root cause, as so many practitioners do today. Absolutely. Who else has a story? How did you first step away from Western medicine? Sue.
I'll step in here. It's funny because as you were talking, and I love everything Sierra just said, as far as like how to find people, and that it can be a challenge. I went to my first massage therapist in 1986 because a friend like drug me there, knowing that my stress level was so high. And the job I was in at the time, it was just going full speed the entire time. There was no downtime. And so a friend of mine was like, you need to relax. And I didn't even know what the word meant. I hadn't experienced it. So about 10 years after that, I ended up going to massage school myself, because the benefits that came from working with somebody were that fabulous. And I was going to step into the healing arts world at that time, but life had other ideas. And so from that point on, when I went to massage school, I started realizing how many different modalities, because we were exposed to a lot of different healing techniques. I became a Reiki master. I learned a lot of other energy modalities. But what really made a difference for me, and since this is about like becoming our own wellness director, it wasn't until I was willing to take responsibility for my own healing and really start exploring what works for me. I love that you started this with, I'm not anti-Western medicine, because I can tell you, if my appendix bursts, I am not going to go to a Reiki master.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to, there's room for both Eastern and Western, or traditional and non-traditional, or alternative, or, there's so many different words out there.
Yeah.
And it took a while. I would say if I started in 86, it probably took me till, well, at least mid 2000s. And it wasn't until I had my own true health crisis in 2009 that I went, uh-oh, something needs to change. And I took responsibility and I started researching and finding different ways and really getting to the point where I was willing to experiment. And I think that's a big piece. Your list of practitioners that we have on the wellness site, I love the like the cloud of the different modalities there, because you can just look at it and go, I wonder what that is, and just begin to search out the things that may or may not work. I'm a firm believer, not everyone can heal, no one can heal everything. And it's about finding those people that fit for me, and now that I'm doing something else, I really want to I do a free 30 minutes just to see if there's a connection. And then another longer intake if we decide to go there. And it's just about making sure we're getting the resources and not being afraid to say, this doesn't work for me. I've done that several times where I've, quote, fired a healer or practitioner because it either had exceeded what I needed and we were no longer on that right track, or it just got to the point it wasn't the right fit. But again, it comes down to that personal responsibility.
So a question is coming in my mind, and we're going to bounce all over the place, and I am multitasking while I'm doing this, so I apologize, but I am listening to every word you're saying. So one of the obstacles that I had was dealing with Western medicine practitioners, medical doctors, who would fight with me when I didn't want to do their treatment. And because you were just talking about firing your practitioner, and I have fired numerous doctors, and having them fight with me to say, oh, perfect example. 2002, I'm pregnant with my daughter. She was my 40th birthday surprise. And I developed gestational diabetes, and that my OBGYN, who I was not about to fire, although he was a little unhappy that every test that he wanted me to do, I pretty much said no to, unless if it was invasive to the baby, I felt. Anyways, I went, because of the gestational diabetes, they sent me over to an endocrinologist, and it was just borderline gestational diabetes. And she's putting insulin in my hands, and she's saying, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And I said, no, I really want to do this through diet and exercise. And she said, you can't. And it was like, you have to do the insulin. I said, no, I don't think I have to. I've been monitoring my blood levels, my sugar levels, and I found on the days when I'm exercising and I'm eating right, I'm in normal ranges. I think I can control this. And she looked at me and she threatened me with the life of my baby. And, do you really want to kill your baby and hurt? And I mean, I was flabbergasted, and I just looked at her and said, I am not going to do this. She says, well, I have 40 years of experience as an endocrinologist. I know what you need to do. And I looked at her and I said, I have 40 years of living in this body. I am not going to do it. Now, I took the prescription, I took the insulin, but I never used it and we threw it away. I decided not to fight with her at that point in time and take it with me. But we did monitor it. And actually, I went to my chiropractor, who also specialized in nutrition, and asked him, would you be my healthcare director, or help me with this? Would you monitor this with me? And he did. And I reported into him what my glucose levels were on a weekly basis. I told him when it was out of whack. He changed my diet, and I ended up having a net baby weight gain of -8 pounds because I was so incredibly healthy, and my OBGYN was flabbergasted. And 2 weeks after giving birth, I was in a size that I hadn't worn in 20 years. So we can fire them, but, what kind of experiences have you guys had? How do you deal with that type of a situation when Western medicine is threatening you almost that you've got to go this course and it's not working and you got to do something else?
I'm going to speak to that just because I'm still unmuted. I think it's really important that we acknowledge Western medicine doctors began to believe they were almost godlike, that their years of training, just like your endocrinologist said, I know better. And it does come down to exactly what you did. I know my body better. And the old adage, the customer or the consumer is always right, they forget we can fire them. And even in systems like Kaiser, you don't have to stay with the same doctor. And some of it, I believe, Denise, is really about finding people who will empower us to stand up for ourselves. Because I know for years I would fall into the go to the doctor, get a pill. And we come from a culture, a pill will serve almost any need. And that just hasn't been the case. So that's my belief, is we need to find people who will empower us to stand up for ourselves and support us while we do that, especially as we're bucking a system. So
what label do those people have? And you guys can all unmute if you want to. We can all talk at the same time. It's perfectly okay.
For me, it's the kind of coaching I do. That is the basis.
Okay, so
behind the bottom line of what I do is teaching people to feel that sense of self-empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sierra.
Yeah, I want to touch on this idea because what's happening in a lot of Western medicine, and when I say Western medicine, I'm not just talking about doctors or allopathic medicine. I'm also talking about psychology. Trauma is an elective in almost all psychology programs in our country. And most healthcare professionals, I would say in the quote unquote Western community, they don't understand, they're not trained what happens to the body. And I'm not talking just the mind, but the body as well. When we treat people like that, we shame them. Like you said, you were threatened by your baby's life.
Yeah.
That's not okay. That does so much damage, so much stress. And Western medicine, it's not their fault, right? They're trained to look at signs and symptoms and prescribe a pharmaceutical. That's what they're trained to do. They're doing their job. But that doesn't work for everybody. And so one thing I always encourage people to do is if you're seeing someone and they can't tell you why something works, then I would see somebody else. For example, one question, so I work with people who primarily have trauma, they have mental health challenges that they want to change, but for a lot of them, they also have physical pain that's unexplained, that people cannot tell them why it's happening.
Right.
So one of the things that we talk about a lot is this idea that you're born with a certain chemical balance or imbalance, and that's the way it is forever. And we know that that's not true. Anymore. And we know that talk therapy alone is not effective anymore. So if you're going to see someone for your physical health or for your mental health, and they can't explain to you that there are modalities that you can use to change your chemical imbalance, where you don't have to take, there's nothing wrong with taking pharmaceuticals, I'm not saying that, but they were developed to be taken in a crisis situation. They don't help you change your natural balance. They create a dependence. And so it's important to know that there are other options that you can teach your body to have a different balance. You can teach your body systems to change. And vice versa, if you're going to someone for talk therapy and you're not talking about how you're moving your body, how your emotions and how your physical health is connected, or trauma, then you might want to talk to somebody else. So for me, I really look for someone who can educate me about what's going on so that I know what I'm doing, and then I feel empowered to make the choice. And I would also add to that, Sue kind of mentioned this with the word empowerment. to me, the number one thing that any health practitioner can do for you is believe that whatever you want is possible. Because a lot of us, we get to that point of desperation and we don't believe it anymore. We're like so burnt out. Nothing has worked so far. Why would we believe that something is going to work now? And we have to borrow that belief system, at least for a little while, before we start to see the evidence.
That's
So
awesome.
if you feel like the person you're working with doesn't believe in you, find someone else. It's not you, it's them.
Thank you. Dawn, you unmuted yourself. Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes. So can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The first time I just wanted to briefly say the first time I stepped out of Western medicine, or typical Western medicine, was 1980. I went to a chiropractor. I was having back issues at 20, 21 years old. At the same time, I was seeing a counselor and dealing with childhood trauma, and there was still something not being dealt with. And I found an energy healer, I found meditation, and that just opened the doors for me. It was an amazing experience to go, oh, there's so much more that I get to be in charge of, not just somebody doling out information, because I truly wanted to understand what was going on with me, both physiologically and mentally and emotionally. When fast forward a million years, after 25 years of being a holistic healer, I went into nursing, and that is to bring those two worlds together. And there are lots of Western medicine people who want so much more for people. So I just wanted to add that.
So what you are saying is that you found a combination of different healers, that one person was not doing everything for you.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
It took a team. It took a team. It took a village, I think. So
how, this goes back to the how. How do we go about finding that? Now, let me back up a step as to why I'm asking that question. So several months ago, I got together with someone who, a friend of mine, and she is suffering from a chronic condition, a severe chronic condition that puts her in the hospital about every single month. She's probably going to be watching this recording very soon, so I'm not going to say her name out loud. But she's been fighting with Western medicine. She got the feeding tube taken out of her because she didn't want to go down that road. She's dealing with it's a horrible disease that she has. And when we were sitting there talking, and she was frustrated with how to get started in finding the right healers and finding, okay, she had to find her own way. There wasn't a billboard saying, here's the answer for you. And so one of the questions I asked her was, would you envision something like a healers panel where you could have healers of various modalities sit around a table with your medical records, a medical doctor, a naturopathic doctor, acupuncturist, energy healer, psychologist, whatever combination of modalities we felt were appropriate, to review your medical records and help guide you and provide you with advice for paths that you might want to seek. And she was like, oh my God, I would do that in a heartbeat. And so my next question to her was, how much would you pay for it? Because I don't know how to price it. I'm not sure what we would do. And she said, I have spent thousands of dollars chasing around and not getting results. I absolutely would put a big price on this if it was truly a panel of a variety of practitioners who could advise me on it. So now this is long-term in our future. There's an awful lot that we'd have to put together and a lot of legal issues that we'd have to deal with. So we don't have that yet. But how, really, where would one get started? Is there a label that we can use out there, like primary care physician? I'm kind of wandering through those thoughts. And you're all muted.
I don't know what the label would be necessarily. That's something that I'll be honest that I struggle with in my business. I called myself a resilience coach for a while, and I called myself a not therapist for a while, and then I called myself
therapist?
A not therapist for a while. Like people who had challenges with therapy or whatever. So I think part of that is it's a marketing thing. It's like, what do we call ourselves to get the clients to understand what we do? But one thing I would add, I mean, there's a lot of health coaches out there. So maybe health coach would be the thing. But one thing I would add is to ask the person if they're willing to talk to the other health practitioners that you're working with, and make sure that you're signing all of the releases and asking them even to have like conference calls.
Yeah.
And I've had doctors tell me that they weren't willing to do that. And to me, it's like immediately work with somebody else, because that's a really important point to connect all of them.
There are a ton of clinics getting set up with practitioners from various modalities coming together with the noble intent of collaborating on client care. And that's how I've seen so many start with that objective of, we're going to put an acupuncturist, a chiropractor, a massage therapist, and maybe a functional medicine doctor, together, so that we can sit around a round table and talk about our clients this way. And I haven't seen one work that way yet. I haven't seen them all, so there could be some out there working, but what I've seen is what they will eventually complain about is, we're nothing more than sharing rents, office space together. We're all doing our own thing. And, my own husband's practice does that. Now, that's not to say they don't have the one-on-one conversation every once in a while to say, hey, I've got somebody presenting with this. I think they need someone who can help. Who would you recommend to? There is that's going on a lot that I see. But not the, hey, let's sit around a table and dive into the medical records of this person and see what we can come up with. Dina, you've been quiet. Do you have something you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'm just kind of taking it all in this morning and having so many thoughts go through my head. But for me, I mean, it was not always Western medicine. My mom started us at chiropractors at 8 years old. We were young and introduced to that. But I was also in therapy because of all the trauma in our life. And so they diagnosed me with medical depression at 8 years old. And I think one of the things we forget is, as we're younger, the labels that we are given, we define ourselves by as we get older. So even when we go to therapy, when we get help, when we're trying all these things, one of the reasons I believe, and this was my own personal experience after tons of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, and medications, and all the things that didn't work and only got me so far, was that I had to go totally internal and look at my beliefs and where they came from and why I believed I was even depressed.
Yeah.
Because it goes back to that being your own director of your own health and being the director of your life, and realizing that just because someone puts a label on you doesn't mean that has to define you forever. It doesn't mean it defines you at all. And once I was able to release that and just realize that that's where it came from, and I want to change that belief, and change the affirmation that I tell myself, the depression changed. And mine was really bad. Like, I was even suicidal even after having 4 kids and being married. Like, I was suicidal since my teens. And when I got to that realization that I could go internal to my belief system and realize what doctors, what people, what was going on in society was dictating who I became, I got to change that. And it opened up my awareness as to what was going on around me and what was really available, because I didn't understand all these other modalities were there. I didn't know anything about them. And it wasn't that they weren't in front of me. It wasn't that I didn't see signs driving down the street. It wasn't that I didn't see it on social media. It wasn't that it wasn't around. It was my personal awareness was so stuck in this little box of what was dictated to me as I was growing up that I couldn't see it when it was in front of my face. I wouldn't have maybe seen that billboard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think a lot of it too is Western medicine, holistic work, whatever people are wanting, they have to be willing to hear some things that they may not want to hear. They have to be willing to hire people to work with people who are going to get really straight with them. I love what both Sierra and Sue were saying about, I can fire my person. If they aren't going to work with you, don't work with them. But to take it a little further is, if they're not going to be honest with you and tell you things you may not want to hear to help you get to the next level, to help you heal, you don't want them either. You don't want a yes person.
Yeah.
You don't want someone, like you said, that's just going to take your money so they can make their living and pass you off to somebody else. And that's where my whole coaching came in, was because everything was psychology, psychiatrists, and they got me so far. And then it was the personal development arena of things. But that was only from where you are to get better.
Yeah.
I needed to go backwards into things that were in that self-discovery space. And I had a really hard time finding any licensed psychologist or psychiatrist willing to go into that route with me. And I would tell them, this is what I know I'm needing. I just can't find a way to get there. Can you help me? And they're like, they just want to know how I felt about things and walk me through my trauma over and over and over again and try to help me be like, okay, you can get over that now, kind of thing. There are amazing, amazing licensed professionals out there in the mental health arena.
Mm-hmm.
They're sometimes very difficult to find. So this network that you have here is fantastic.
Thank you.
Because you have the mental health professionals, you have the life coaches, you have that whole arena where we want to work together to help people, because we've worked together to help ourselves. And so we know how that goes further. I have actually, I think one of the last important things to say is, when you're looking for a practitioner or someone in any medical field that you're needing care from, interview them. I go in for my first appointment and say, here's my issues. Are you able to help me? And what are your thoughts? And when I actually just got a new doctor, and my last doctor was this way too. They said, I can help you with this. I can help you with this. I know nothing about this, so I have someone I'm going to refer you to who's amazing. And they really were like, and then what do you think? Like, how do you feel about what I'm telling you? They wanted to know what I thought. They wanted my input, and they were willing to say they didn't know something, and they were going to refer me out to somebody else. That is key with any practitioner you work with. If they're not willing to not know something, because we don't all know everything. Like Sue said, we're not all meant to help everybody. We're meant to help the people we're meant to help, so others can help the other people they're meant to help, right? And so you just have to be willing to have the conversations, tell people this isn't a good fit for me, thank you for your time, and move on. Like, you have to be okay with that. But we were also raised, if someone had letters behind their name, they were right.
Very good point. Thank you for making that one.
And that is not always accurate.
Robert, do you have anything you want to contribute to this? If you do, you are muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm walking through the grocery store listening to all these fine words.
Oh, okay.
I agree with what everyone is saying, that, the options that we have with modern medicine, they're pushing the drugs. They're not looking at holistic ways of treating things. In fact, I came from a doctor this morning for a heart condition I have, and the first thing they wanted to talk about was all the drugs that I should be taking. And I asked them, well, what about diet? What about other things that we can do? Boy, they really didn't have much conversation. So I think we as a group have a lot to offer, good alternatives for holistic health.
Yeah. Thanks for that. There's a recurring theme that every single one of you have kind of touched on, some more forcefully than others, and that is and let's go back to the individual who is perhaps fed up with the system and they're looking to step outside, is that you have to speak up. You have to know what it is you want, even if you don't know what the end result. You have to know what the end result is that you want, even if you don't know what the process is going to be. And you have to be able to. And I'm going to mute Robert so we're not hearing him at the checkout. There we go. Okay. But for the individual who's stepping out, it just has to be asking, has to be saying, it's if you've lived in the medical insurance world and you know that you're turning to your primary care physician because that's what your medical insurance tells you to do, you don't have that when you step out, but you have to know, here's the life that I want to lead. I need to know somewhere to start. A health coach is a good place for people to start. For me, it was always my chiropractor, but there's anyone who's focusing on wellness. And one of the things we have in the Defining Wellness Network directory, which thank you so much for you guys for mentioning that, at youdefinewellness.com, that's YOU, definewellness.com, you can find a provider. That many of them work all over the world. And so many of them work through platforms like this on Zoom. And there is a category, when you push the red button to go to conditions and issues, there's a category called indecision. And what that means is not knowing where to start. You know you need to go down a different route, but you don't know where to begin. I've got a whole bunch of people who have indicated, yeah, I can help someone with that. But yeah, you guys are talking about the very things that I was hoping would come out of this, and that's all about the empowerment. So we have roughly 14 minutes left in this presentation where we could cover some more things, but we've covered an awful lot. I would like to know what more you would like to add, what words of encouragement, what stories that you want to share. Who would like to go first? This is a race for unmuting you. Okay. Did we cover everything? Sierra.
I would just add, there's a lot of free resources out there too. So like there's podcasts, there's magazines, there's blogs, with the internet, there's so much access to all kinds of different things. And so if you're like overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, just start somewhere. Just choose the next person and reach out to them, or a trusted friend or family member and reach out to them and say, I don't know where to start. Because I think to some degree, it doesn't always matter where you start, that you'll end up in a place that you need to be. And even all of the therapists, all of the doctors that I've fired in my life, never did I get nothing out of them. I always had some sort of, even if it was, this isn't the thing, there's something else, there's still some sort of information or message there that I was able to use to move forward. So even if you don't have a clue, reach out to me, reach out to Denise and say, who can I talk to? And just start somewhere.
Yeah. Now, I have two people who have podcasts, I think, on this call. So Sierra, you have a podcast. What is it called?
It's just called Recover.
Okay.
And so can I say a little bit about it?
That much.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a whole bunch of people telling their stories of recovery from grief, from trauma, from diseases, from you name it. So it's to illustrate how recovery comes from a lot of different places in a lot of different ways. So there's a ton of different information about different modalities, different paths that people have taken. It's actually launching this week. So if you go to speakwithsierra.com, you can set up a call with me. I can tell you more about it. We can talk about, I can help you with where you want to start. So that's launching. Thanks.
That's speakwithsierra.com.
Speakwithsierra.com.
Yep. She interviewed me. That was a lot of fun too. Dina, you have a podcast, do you not?
I do have a podcast. We actually rebranded and revamped, and so now it's Real Talk with Dina Adams, and it is relaunching in August.
Hey, awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So say it again. It's Real Talk with Dina?
Real Talk with Dina Adams.
Real Talk with Dina Adams. Thank you
Mhm.
very much. Sue Relihan, you are a coach. So let's, hey, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity for all of you to plug yourselves if you want. So Sue.
I think as far as the topics that go with what we're discussing this morning, it really comes down to empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the type of coaching that I do. I really focus on helping people find that sense of self-empowerment so that they can go out and not only make healthcare decisions, but other decisions that need to be made, and just to feel better about themselves. We carry so much crap inside of us that to have someplace where you can safely and compassionately unpack that,
Mm-hmm.
it really, I see it in my clients all of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't consider myself a health coach, but when I look at my background, I probably could use that as a title. I've got 22 years of massage therapy, 7 years of hypnosis, and now I'm taking on this new coaching therapy process that I'm just learning. I really think the answer is going to rely on you. I don't know that you want this added pressure to everything else that you're doing right now, Denise, but it's having platforms like this. The more you're able to market You Define Wellness and get the message out to employers that there are other options, and you've seen it, and I'm aware of it just from knowing you, there are companies out there that want to take care of their employees. It's just getting that bridge so they know you exist and you know they exist.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of, now I'm just going to kind of throw this back on you, where you have the beautiful vision. I love the idea of sitting around a conference table with other practitioners. I don't know that you're going to find a lot of traditional Western medicine because they have so many licensing and insurance and malpractice and rules they have to play by.
Yep.
I have rules. I'm a registered psychotherapist. I have rules I have to play by, but they're not nearly as strict as what a traditional licensed person is.
We actually have some MDs who have stepped outside of the traditional Western model and who are interested in playing along with that panel. So thank you for that, and I appreciate the words that you shared. Sue is also the award-winning best-selling author of a book called Metamorphosis, and it is fantastic. You can find it, I'm sure, on Amazon.com. Yeah.
It's also on my website. I just want to give myself that plug that on SueRelihan.com, you can find out more about what I'm doing, and there's a link on there to get both of my books.
Yeah. Dawn, do you want to plug your fantastic networking group in the Central Valley of California?
Yes, I do. And so we have a holistic healers group. We've been meeting, 2.5 years. One of the things we just did in March is we did like a Reiki clinic, but we had Reiki people, Tai Chi, yoga, different acupressure energy healers. We popped up tents and we did free sessions for the public to educate people. And we're going to do that again in September to publicize ourselves. And excited to become part of the You Define Wellness gift card, if I'm saying that right. And
gift card, yes.
Yes, and bringing people together. And I do get questions because I'm out in the community doing women's circles, and I get questions every week. Who do I go to? Who would you refer me to? So people are looking, people are interested in doing something different about their life and their health. And I am in Western medicine, and there is a time and place for that, but we are so much more than that.
Yeah. Dawn is also a registered nurse, and I've known Dawn for a very, very long time. So that's how I know all those details. Dawn, what is the name of your meetup group or your networking group?
It's called the Holistic Healing Community Meetup Central Valley.
Okay, awesome. Robert, do you want to do a plug for what you do and your wonderful business and Tactics?
Well, yes, thank you. Always, there's an opportunity. I work one-on-one with clients who have emotional traumas. Most of these traumas have come from childhood. They carry these memories and emotions with them throughout life. They, in fact, impact the decisions that they make as they go through life. A lot of them have, many people have poor relationships. They go from one relationship to the next. Seems like they married the same person, just a different set of shoes.
Yeah.
I spoke to a client the other day. He called me and said he had a lot of different things to work on. And so I took a look at the list of problems, and I figured, we can work on 3 of these. We can get rid of these. So we did. We worked on 3 of those, and we had enough time to work on an additional one. And he had pain in his back. He's had pain in his back for years. After we got done, I said, "Oh, by the way, stand up. How's your back?" And the pain was gone. And so, we have problems in our minds, our emotional responses to things. We feel sad, we feel angry, we feel depressed, and a lot of that is stored in the body as pain. But as we release the emotions and the memories and make changes to the memories, we also release how it represents in the body. So that's kind of what I do. I do it through the internet. It makes it more convenient for me and for the client. I do single sessions, but usually I do three sessions, 3-session package, which clears out most of what people, what bothers people. And then I teach them how to work on themselves. So I quickly run out of clients because as they, I don't want to say the word heal, but as they heal, they learn how to work on themselves, and they end up being happy and living a happy, fulfilled life.
Fantastic. So one last thing I'm going to share is my contact information. And I encourage anyone watching this video, if you want to learn more about Define Wellness, this really was not designed to, hey, let's keep plugging Define Wellness, but hey, we are putting on this event, so that always helps. But if you want to learn more about Define Wellness, go to our website, udefinewellness.com. There's an awful lot of information on there. There's information on how you can join as a health and wellness practitioner, our network. We are right now functioning in 8 states and soon to be hopefully nationwide in all of that. But we do have programs to help out and speakers and these qualified individuals. Hundreds of health and wellness professionals are in our network. And reach out to me. I've given you my cell phone number. Feel free to call me at any time. I'm more than happy to talk to you about health and wellness. And I will tell you, if you are watching this and you are floundering and looking to find your path and to become the director of your own healthcare and you do not know where to begin, I do have people who reach out to me with that and say, here's the situation. I don't know who to turn to. I have a way of communicating with our health and wellness professionals, and I will post your request without your name on it to our providers and say, who could help with this? And then I will give you all of the responses, and our providers have to tell me why they think that they could help you. So that's a way to start and at least get a list of people who have been vetted. We do criminal background investigations on all of them. We are checking their that they're licensed and regulated by the states if they are in a field that's regulated. So it's a vetted provider network, and we can help give you that advice, and we do that for free. So if that can help you, reach out to me. Please reach out to me through my website. It's the easiest way to do that versus picking up the phone and call me. But if you want to talk, call me. Let's talk. So thank you to all of you who have participated in this event today. I sincerely appreciate your participation and a great conversation. And hopefully we are helping people take that first step. And join us for all the other 48 sessions coming up in the Defining Wellness Confab. It's going to be a lot of fun over the next 11 weeks.